Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Why, presented by All American Roof Pros and All American Heart Studios. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who I think we're going to have a lot of fun conversations with. He's a young, hungry professional out of the Norwalk area, and we've slowly become friends, and I'm super excited to have him sit down with him today, and that is Mr. Caizzo. Did I say the last name?
No, thank you. Yes, sir.
I always wonder when somebody has a little funky last name, like,
I'm excited. I'm so happy you asked me to do this.
I,
I'm pumped.
I'm glad you are, man. Well, why don't you just kind of, I ask everybody to do an elevator pitch. Like, basically, if you're meeting me off the street, how would you introduce yourself to me?
Absolutely. I'm gonna keep it a little longer than 30 seconds. So,
Take your time.
I and this may not be true, but man, I feel like I'm the most blessed, lucky guy in the world. Everybody's got their cross to bear, but like me, I grew up. Two parents love me. Three siblings, extremely close to my parents, grandparents. Deep roots in Norwalk. Uh, went to St. Paul High School, graduated there, actually graduated COVID. So that was really, really a weird time.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I was one of the wrestlers who was about to go to state. I was packed and everything, and they call us that same day, "Hey, you're not wrestling." And actually, the governor's getting on TV in 20 minutes and saying, "No more school for the next 2 weeks." 2 weeks turns into 3 months. 3 months turns into holy cow,
I
we're
was
going in.
watching sectionals.
Yeah,
You're,
holy cow, we're going into college now.
yeah.
And um, I was playing football over at Mount Union. Actually, fast forward 3 years, my brother's now wrestling state. He's in the state championships. He wins. Picture him goes up in the register. It's one of my favorite pictures. Coolest thing I had in my office. Tim and I hugging right after. It was on the front page of the register. And Mark Hazelwood, I don't know if you know him. He is one of the best sports writers in the state of Ohio, I would argue. Um, he did a little piece on like, hey, my experience with COVID and Kevin's experience. I'm like, hey, I don't want to talk about what I did. Like today, I'm just a proud brother because like my brother came down to Columbus, won the state championship, and he's 106. He's a little dude.
Oh, yeah.
He's wrestling Ohio Northern now. He's about 160 pounds.
Oh, beef right up.
Oh, he beat her up, and him and I did a St. Paul alumni football practice last week. I'm feeling it, but it was a super cool memory because even if him and I were able to play together in high school, he was hardly breaking a buck.
Yeah.
But now he's a big boy, and he wanted to roughhouse his brother a little bit. We had a bunch of fun,
That's
but
awesome.
when that piece went out in the paper, 200 comments on Facebook, super cool. And anyone who says they wouldn't read them is a liar. I read them all. But there was one that was super, super cool that I'll never forget that always stood by me. And it was like, it was by an older lady, no one I've ever met before. She goes, "I recognize those boys. Those are the boys that took their grandma to church every Sunday throughout high school and even when they were home from college." And I always thought that was super cool because my great grandma lived to be 99 years old, 99, almost 99 and a half years old. So that was one of the coolest things. Like, man, we have all these accomplishments, and that lady recognized me for that, and that's what meant the most to me. That one Facebook comment. But back to where we were at in college. Went to college, went to Gannon University. I was playing football there. That season got canceled. Ended up breaking my leg, transferring to Mount Union. And I was actually studying engineering construction management. That's my dad's got a construction background. My grandpa's got a construction background. I thought that's what I was going to do. My parents, not really financial people. They're very Dave Ramsey. Like, I have this much, I spend this much, and this is what I'm left over with. And that's what I save, spend, give. Transfer to Mount Union, start studying finance, and really had a desire to come back to Huron County. Ever since I was a kid, very close to Sue Lesh, mayor of Norwalk for a long time. I remember for door knocking my parents to be mayor. Sue, Sue's someone I always looked up to. I want to be the mayor of Norwalk. I always want to come back to the area. And when you're involved in big banking, that subjects you to big markets. I want to join obviously one of the biggest financial firms, but I want to join somewhere where I was able to be in a smaller market like Huron County. Um, so I was applying everywhere in college, from Toledo to Cleveland, down here to Mansfield. And Edward Jones gave me a shot after 4 or 5 applications. And I went and did some of the licensing on my own and was able to find the right person at the right time, get my foot in the door. Ended up, after I broke my leg playing football, I didn't go back out and play again. I dressed for 1 game, uh, but that freed up 20 hours a week in my schedule. I was able to hurry up, get my degree, graduate in about 2 years. And then since then, I was at Edward Jones, but I was door knocking people at the age of 21, asking retirees if I can manage their investment accounts and look at their investment statements. That was tough. That was tough. I know you probably get a lot of that in roofing. There's a lot of roofers that are going door to door, but for me, that was some of the hard.
It's a weird conversation to say, hey, can I take a look at how much money you have and make sure you're managing it properly? Especially because a lot of those people are probably set in their ways. And
yeah, and a lot of them think you're fishing for their personal information, because it's an intimate conversation.
yeah,
Asking people about how much they got put away in their bank accounts, like especially in this day and age where they're getting 10 calls a day asking them, okay, can I sell you Medicare supplement plans, and try and take their information? Like, that was very, very tough. But the people I did get from that, I have great relationships with.
absolutely. Well, yeah, you build a lot of trust because you showing up, it makes a different level of the connection, right? Versus even a warm handoff, whether that's through BNI or whatever. It's so much easier if you're the person that made the introduction and won them over. Is it really gonna try to screw it up and lose them, right?
You appreciate your people when you know how hard you had to work to get them, and not just get them, but retain them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I would have the same appreciation for my job and my people that I deal with every day if I didn't do that.
Absolutely.
So that was my way of gritting my teeth. Favorite movie, Joe Dirt, maybe Rudy.
Joe Dirt's a timeless classic, man.
Timeless classic.
The second one sucked though.
Favorite, I agree. The one that came out a couple years.
Butchered it so bad. Like the new Happy Gilmore was so good.
You like that?
I did.
I didn't care for it.
I thought they did a good job. That was probably one of the best sequels of a 20-year separation. They did a good job tying up all the loose ends. I didn't like the entire premise, but I liked how they paid homage to a lot of, past characters and things like that.
I was talking to someone about it. They said it's the perfect Gen Z movie. I'm like, why is it? Like, all these cameos, and it was perfect for their attention span. Felt like a TikTok. You have someone come in for 7 to 10 seconds, new topic. I personally couldn't keep up with it. I thought it was too scattered and not well written, but I'll tell you what, Happy Gilmore, also a top 10 movie. And Baker Mayfield, one of my favorite athletes. But I think the reason that I like that sort of thing, I'm not someone who'll sit down and watch serious movie, but man, Baker Mayfield, Joe Dirt, Rudy, gritty.
Yeah.
Super, super gritty. I had a mentor say, hey, that's the number one thing he looks for in business, people who have a little bit of grit, a little bit of an edge.
Well, that's something I think that wrestlers have. All right.
Oh, definitely.
You're to do something that nobody else wants to do. You don't want to do it yourself. You just go out and do it, right? But it sounds like, because you're what, 26?
I'm 24.
Okay.
As of last month.
Okay, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So 24, and you faced a lot of adversity. Some of that brought on by COVID. Some of it's just setbacks in general. But you seem to have a positive attitude every time I'm around you. What's why? Why continue to be positive about it? Like you said, you're a super blessed man. I look at myself the same. I'm 7 years older than you are. But it's everything that's gone wrong in my life was for a reason, is the way I look at it. But what for you? How have you dealt with that, or what keeps you going?
So I got a question for you, and I promise I'll swing it back here. But like, do people who make more money, are they happier because they make more money, or do happier people make more money?
I would argue there's plenty of unhappy people that make a shit ton of money. I think placing your happiness in something that's intangible like money, and really is just a figment of our imagination if we really look at it on the big scale of things. I know that's a hard truth with somebody that's in the financial business.
Yeah.
But it's just something. It's fun coupons.
It-
Yeah.
And I was interested to hear your take on that, but I don't have an answer. To be honest with you, I have no idea. But I'm gonna be happy anyway. I'm gonna have a good attitude anyway because I'm more apt to be more successful if I do that. Is there any proof? It's kind of believe without seeing. Is there proof? Is there real raw numbers that I can analytically digest and point to that? Nope. But I'm gonna wake up every day with a good attitude anyway.
Yeah.
I heard this the other day. I thought it was really, really cool. Be a good leader. You gotta take credit less and take blame more. Super simple, but if you're willing to, door knock, get your teeth kicked in, and then go to the next door with a smile on your face and do the next thing, on to the next, your lifestyle is just a whole lot happier than someone who can get hung up with that rejection. It's kind of like, you're probably not a Seinfeld guy, are you?
A little bit.
There's this one episode of Seinfeld where Jerry Seinfeld gets like rejected, and he, lady goes, "I'm breaking up," and he's like, "Oh, good, good. I'm glad you told me. I'll pay for breakfast. We're on to the next one." That's kind of how I live my life, No matter what happens, boom, we're on to if I make it back, I could still make the rodeo to Cheyenne,
Yeah.
That's just how I roll.
Well, I mean, I think that it plays well, especially having that attitude as a young man. Um, if you have the level, if you put yourself in a position for positivity, life can be so much easier because, I talk about it all the time, and life either happens to you or for you, but it's your choice on which one of those. And with that in mind, with knowing that life either happens to me or for me, when I get a flat tire, for instance, let's just talk about this morning. The week before my wedding, I witnessed a really bad car accident right in front of me, and it sucked because I sat there for 2 hours. I had to give sworn statements, all that good stuff, because I was a witness. But after I thought about it, I was actually had run late, right, for whatever reason. And you can look at it a couple different ways. Oh, my morning's messed up, or better yet, I can sit here and pray with this girl, and I can comfort her because her car just flipped 5 times in front of me, and all that good stuff. Like, life happened for me that morning, right? It didn't happen to me. Or better yet, God stopped me at a stop sign because he knew that person was going to come into oncoming traffic at 60 miles an hour. And I would have probably, like I've said this before, if somebody hit my big F-250 head on, it's not going to be fun for me, right?
Yeah.
But it sure is
Definitely. I'm fun for them.
Yeah. And I would have probably, for lack of a better term, killed those people in that other car. I believe they needed. I never dug that deep. I know the girl that flipped 5 times was somebody's watching over because she had a pinky on, she had a scratch on her pinky. That was it. And so if you have that perspective of life's going to happen for me, God's just putting a roadblock in your way for a reason, whether that's not a path you're supposed to go down, or it's just not your time yet, or whatever that is. Life can be so much different. It's just like with money, right? I have a friend who got $1 million deposit, and the guy goes up and goes, "Hey man, how's it feel to be a millionaire?" He goes, "I was always a millionaire. The money just wasn't in the bank." Like, that right there.
He was rich anyway.
Yes. I'm the wealthiest man I know. I've got a healthy daughter. My wife loves me. I've got a beautiful home. I've got 3 great dogs. I didn't have a beautiful head. I think I weigh on the material stuff. I think we had a great relationships in my life. I have great relationships with my parents, my wife's parents, my brothers, my sister. I have all these other things that make my life wealthy. The money is just a fun coupon. That's just, and we need it, right? I'd be asinine to be like, I don't need money.
It is a byproduct of that attitude you have, though.
Yes. And I'll always make more. Dude, stop thinking that it's just gonna happen in a day. Like, that pisses me off about people so much. I didn't get the job. Like with you. How many freaking firms did you get turned down by before you got the one that put you in the door?
I applied to Edward Jones, I think 4 or 5 times.
And how many others did you apply to otherwise?
I really did. I was hellbound on Edward Jones. Tunnel vision mentality.
Okay. But either way, it took 4 or 5 times to get there.
Then
And for whatever reason, God said, no, 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 green light.
Yeah.
Have you ever read, speaking of that, green lights, have you ever read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, or listened to it?
haven't.
You get the opportunity to listen to it on Audible, but that's what he talks about. It's just those green lights that give you the go ahead in life. It's a really good philosophy book. Like, Matthew McConaughey's a weird dude. Also, horse down. But either way, like, we get those green lights when God gives us that green light to go ahead and do this and be successful in business, to be successful in this, find a significant other, have a child, whatever those things are. It didn't happen for a reason. Stop searching for why it didn't happen and just go, I'm going to make it work. Like you. Hell-bent on doing something, do it. It's that easy, right?
Yeah, and cancel out the outside noise. Just focus on what you want. There's a lot of people who are going to tell you to zig, and you just got to zag.
Yes. Well, and control the controllables. Maybe you deal with this in your business, and you've definitely dealt with this as a young man, especially playing football or wrestling. How many people that weren't doers that came up and, hey man, if you would have taken that kid and swept him outside, or if you would have, instead of going down in that coal, you should have went top because you had control on the top. These stupid little things are, hey, if you guys would have ran that instead of passing the ball, these people that aren't actually in the game. There's a quote, I don't know if you read it on the way in here, but it's The Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt. Maybe the best, not talked about quote.
It's one of Tom Brady's favorites.
It should be everyone's favorite, at least if you're a high achiever, because it's better to be marred and scarred in the arena than it is to know or to feel the fate of those frail and feeble souls who never got the opportunity to know I'm butchering this thing, to know the feeling of neither victory nor defeat. If you go and try something, it's so much better. It's like the guys, I was going to wrestle in high school, but I was going to do this, but.
It's kind of like Uncle Rico. I used to be able to throw it over that mountain.
Yes.
You said something when you were speaking at one of your BNIs that stuck with me, and it was something else that I saw you had up here. It was, I may say I'm the luckiest person on earth, but some people who work a little bit harder, they're inherently a little bit more lucky. Nobody cares work harder.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's on all of our t-shirts. If you get Employee of the Month here, that's what you get. You get a t-shirt that says nobody cares work harder.
Yeah.
And that's just it, man. Like, I'm not the best at anything, but you're never going to outwork. It's just plain and simple facts. I will outwork you, especially if I want it bad enough. Got about a weird spot in my life. I know, like you said, you're a young man, so you don't know, settling down, having kids, and just kind of settle into that dad role. And right now I'm really focused on being the best damn dad. I don't really have anybody to compare to, per se. I have nobody to compete against. I'm competing against a version of myself that I don't want to be, as I guess what it comes down to, which is cool.
Yeah.
But once you get there, it's like, all right, I'm cool with this. It's not so bad. But it does take a little bit of the wind out of the sails. But like I tell everybody, man, I'm just focused on being dad right now. Like,
there's no how-to guide for that. There's no one size fits all. Like, you got to do it. You got to figure out, you got to dive head first.
Well, and when you realize that, are you the oldest?
Yeah. So
when mom and dad brought you home, like, there is this misconception among grandparents that they send home a manual, they send home a book and go, here, this is how you take care of them. They don't do that shit. They go, hey, don't beat your kid. And like, if they're crying, don't suffocate them. It's really obvious. Here's how you change a diaper if you want me to show you. And other than that, good luck. We'll maybe help you with some feeding stuff if that's what you want. But other than that, good luck. Like, there's no manual. And there's really, as much as we want to critique other people for how they raise their kids, there's no right or wrong. Now, what is right or wrong is how that kid turns out. Like, that's the greatest legacy piece for me, is how do my kids transpire and show me to the world? I just talked about this on the previous podcast, so I apologize for recycling, but it's so powerful. We all die twice. You die when we put you in the ground, and we die when someone stops talking about you. You can live forever if you want to, but what impact are you leaving on the world? And the greatest step that you can do with that is kids. Dana White has one of my favorite quotes. It's not really a quote per se, but one of my favorite little sayings. Somebody asked him, what do you want to be known for? a good dad. I don't give a shit about the noise. I want to be a good dad. I want my kids to remember me as a good dad. And really, if you think about it, if you focus on something like that, whether it's good dad, a good father, a good husband, talked about it, said dad twice, but good father, good husband, Christian, the rest is history.
Yeah. When I was at so I've had, as I said before, I had great mentors in my life. One of them was John Livengood, and if we could have a whole podcast on John Livengood isms from my time at St. Paul. Um, he, he's got a couple favorite words, and the ones that aren't, shit, some bitch, get your head out of your ass, put a firecracker in your ass. The ones that aren't those is his favorite. His favorite saying was like, be a champion, and that's not just like go win a game. And that didn't hit me as much when I was at St. Paul. But when I was at Mount Union, they said the exact same thing. Be a champion. A champion after be a champion. And it's like, okay, so it's not just winning a game. You win the game by being a champion in everything that you do. If you're gonna do something, if I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna fill vending machines, I'm the best damn vending machine filler that I can be. I'm gonna run the best vending machine business I can. I'm gonna hold this door for this person. I'm gonna be the best at everything.
Yes.
Well, why do it?
Yeah.
If you're not gonna do something, be the best at it, why do it?
Yeah. Why waste your energy?
Yeah.
And honestly, it takes more energy to do things half-assed than it does to do them right. Especially the preparations there, right? What's you're talking a lot about mentors. When, like, I'm assuming it started in. Let me not assume because it's not fair. When did that start for you? Like, when did you go, I need a mentor for, to be a good financial advisor,
Oh my gosh,
good whatever?
that's a good question. That's a very good question. When I was very young, you get in trouble in elementary school, you get detentions, and my mom pulled me aside. She said, you are the 3 people that you hang out with the most. You're hanging out with these kids that are getting detentions. You're getting detentions. These kids are getting bad grades. Now your grades are going down, and that's not you. If I want to be if I want to be around people, because naturally, in my occupation, it makes more sense for me to be around people who are making good money. If I want to make more money, I want to be around people who are successful. Be around people who are making money. Be around people who are happy. If I want to be happy, I'm going to be a lot more happy if I'm around 6 people all the time who are inherently more happy. And relationships, you're probably one of the biggest relationship guys that I know. So you know this more than anybody, but I'm just saying it so the people at home can listen to it. But relationships are so, so, so important. When I had that vending machine business, my biggest vending machine account was one of the first ones that I got. And the only reason that I got it, I door knocked him. I stuttered over my entire pitch. I had no idea what I was talking about, but he trusted me. And he said, honestly, I'm not happy. Oh, I'm obviously not happy with the vending machine people here. Our machines aren't working. So I'm willing to give you a chance. But the only reason I'm giving you a chance and not calling somebody else is because when you were in high school, my kid was getting picked on. You gave him a ride to football. And you said, hey, you stand here at 3:05. If you're here at 3:05, I'll make sure you get to the field. He said, and my kid appreciated that so much, being at a new school, didn't know anybody, and you were one of the better athletes. You were willing to do that for him. So I'm going to give you a chance. And that was one of our biggest accounts that really made that business take off. But relationships, to answer your question in one word, having relationships with people that you want to be like, or people who are really successful, those are super important, because as you hang around those people, you're more apt to be successful like them.
Yeah, and it's like the old adage: if you're the smartest person in the room, leave.
Yeah.
Like, don't put yourself in rooms where you are the smartest person because you're not serving yourself, or are you serving them? Right? Like, you should be around like-minded people. I would also see, this is part of, and this whole series, this whole season of podcasts has been about fatherhood and navigating that. But for me, I want my kids to be the ones who see somebody that's maybe not, you know, getting attention. It is getting attention. It is, kind of a kid that's falling through the cracks, whatever that is. Maybe not the best grades. Needs some more attention. You know, that is something that's hard as a parent to try to challenge with, because you don't want them to. You want them to guide those people, right? I want my kids to be good leaders.
Yeah.
And another thing too, man, I don't know if it sounds like we live very similar lives. My house was the safe house when we were kids. Like, if you came over to my house, there was always food in the fridge. You could always spend the night. Like, there was never a question of if my friends could stay the night. I had a friend. He was I would say he was troubled youth, because he's a good kid. He ended up joining the Marine Corps. Unfortunately, he passed away. His name's Jackson Dever. He spent a lot of time with me when we were kids, and
That's tough.
it is, and it's part of life. It is what it is. It's one of my most favorite sayings. But Jackson could come over anytime. There was
Yeah.
always food in the fridge at our house when Jackson, when he was able to come over. And it's just one example of a kid that my mom fed, right? Like, she fed numerous kids. We always had more food than we needed. And, I give her shit because I'm like, yeah, you never cooked. And it was just a running joke. And she really didn't, I guess. But, like, if the friends were over and we were ordering pizza, there was always plenty. And that's just one small piece of that. And maybe that's why, like, now that's like my love language, right? If we're hanging out, I'm going to buy you a meal. It's just what I do. But something really cool that happened to me this week, a little girl that hangs out at our house a lot, she made a TikTok, and it's a friends only TikTok, so I could only see it. But, like, it was her sister, and another girl dancing with my daughter and my wife. My wife wasn't dancing. My wife doesn't dance, but they were dancing in our kitchen. And I said it to my wife, and I went, "How cool is it that our house is already the safe house, and our daughter's 18 months old? Like, how cool is it?" Like, that's what I've told my wife since day one. I just wanted the place that kids could come and feel safe. That's it. Get away from your worries.
Yeah.
Be a kid. Like, my mom would give me shit. She's been over when the girls have been over, and they're like just bouncing off the back of the couch. She's like, they're gonna break the couch. I'm like, I don't care. My cat's already ruined it. Let's just bypass that altogether. But I don't, like, if they break something, okay. It is what it is.
They're having fun. It's a material thing.
Yes, they're being kids. They can put, like, drop your burden. Like, there's a song by Need to Breathe called Brother, and it relates so well to just life in general. One of the lines is, "Brother, let me be your shelter. I'll never leave you all alone." That is me. I just want people to feel safe, whether that's here at work or on a job site or in BNI or wherever. I just want to be able to be a safe place. And maybe that's why it's afforded me to have so many weird conversations with people, whether it's in that chair or just in general. When you're able to create an atmosphere where people just feel safe, where you are the shelter. You say bear that cross, but I'll bear it with you. What do you need from me? It doesn't have to be material. It could just be a shoulder to lean on. It could just be somebody you want to listen to. It could just be somebody you want to talk to. Whatever it is, it's crazy how much different life can actually be if we just look at the world and go, you know what? I'm having a bad day, like Cam, bring it back full circle. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. But I'm not going to let it affect my attitude, and I'm just going to be positive to the rest of the world. And I'm going to create a space where I can be safe. When I coached for 10 years. I coached wrestling for 10 years. I tried to make that room a place where kids would come in for 2 hours and we could just forget about the world and beat the shit out of each other and just have a good time. And we win a few matches along the way. Like you said, we're trying to build champions too. There's a deeper objective.
I think you're able to relate to people on a different level too. Your communication skills are top notch.
But it's a muscle.
In terms of how you terms of how you talk to people. Absolutely. If you read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Napoleon Hill?
that is, especially in my business.
Hey, that's not Napoleon Hill. That's Rich Voss.
Couldn't even tell you who wrote it. That book has helped me so much in talking to people, because at the end of the day, people aren't coming to me for the greatest investment ideas in the world. If you're trusting a 21-year-old with your with random stock picks, like, that's probably irresponsible. They want to know, hey, am I able to outsource this? Am I going to be okay? communicating with those people and helping make complex things a little bit more simple, communication is key. And I think that's the first step in building the relationships, being able to communicate and relate to that individual.
Well, if you think about it, every major conflict in the entire world was over this or just zero communication. So if you think that world wars and national attacks on terror are less subject to things that are going on in your personal life, you're wrong. Everything is scale is just a scale, right? Our government is just at scale. The world is just at scale. So if you're a poor communicator at home, you're probably a poor communicator at work, which then trickles out and out and out and out. So communication, like we have a department here, not to get into the business side, but we have a department here called communications. That's how, like, I think we thought about it as a team. I don't even want to take credit for it. Like, how important is that to just be able to communicate, whether that's with customers or vendors or employees or each other? And when a lot of times when we have a conflict of some type, it's all back to communication. Think about it. Think about the fights you had with friends when you were a kid. And it's just a miscommunication
And
or lack thereof.
most people, if you sit down with them in a setting like this, and I'm not going to say it's about me and you because you and I seem to think very like-minded in a lot of things. But you put someone down who's maybe not as like-minded as I am. Hey, I bet we can agree on more things than we disagree on,
So,
and we can find those things that we agree on and talk about that instead of the things that we really think differently about. But you have the media and other people try to infiltrate your life and tell you that you need to take a stand on this, you need to be divisive on this, you need to be divisive on this. It has no bearing on my day to day.
nope.
I have relationships with this person. That's how I make my money. I have relationships with people. No matter what goes on in politics, has nothing to do with what goes on in the four walls of my house.
Absolutely. Who's in your house is more important than who's in the White House.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. And you're exactly right. We can relate with people more than we think we can. Now, I know this is just a core belief of mine. There are deal breakers, and there should be. If you don't have deal breakers that are just ideologies that you cannot put up with, you just got really loose morals and you're just a free-spirited hippie. I don't know what to tell you. And that's not a dig, I promise. But we have to have foundational core principles. And really, more so than anything, like, I'm big on the study of relationships in general. I've really spent probably it hasn't been as frequent here lately. There was a period when I spent about 5 years just kind of really looking deep dive at relationships. And maybe it's because I'm a product of divorce. Maybe that's what it is, right? But when you look at divorce, which is a really nasty word, and it's really nasty in general, I don't wish it upon anyone. But when you look at it, you liked each other at one point, right? And you're probably like, how do we go from talking about politics to all of a sudden talking about this? Well, if you don't have level-headed ideologies, if you don't have a core set of principles on this is how we're going to raise our kids, this is what I want for my household. I'm not saying that you and your spouse have to vote for the same president. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that if you're not clear on how you're going to discipline your kids, you're off to a rocky start already. Because if I want to, if I want to be the parent that spanks, because I don't think that's a bad thing, and my wife wants to be the parent that takes phones away, that's a problem.
I know for a fact that I've had those conversations. It's like, hey, do I want someone who's going to be home with the kids? And sometimes I feel like that's looked down on, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Or do I want to be with someone who's totally driven to go run whatever hospital or company she's part of? Both of them totally well respected in their own right. Both of them should be things that women should strive for. I may have a preference to one more so than the other.
Well, and
in terms of how I want to raise my kids.
And the thing is, man, is like once you find somebody that you want to be with, figure out how that works, right? Because I'm super blessed. My wife is a phenomenal mom. It's a full-time job to be able. Let's just get that off the table. Like just being a parent in general, because there's a lot of dads out there
Yep.
that are doing the same thing. I think dads don't get as much credit when they're the only one pulling the boat, but it's very true. Like, it's just a taxing job, raising a little human, make sure you're doing it right, keeping them safe, all that good stuff, keeping a food on the table, roof over their head, all that good stuff. It's hard. And unfortunately, in our economy today, it just feasibly
Louder.
isn't possible for a lot of parents to be able to be a one parent working one income household. However, if you look at daycare and stuff like that, you guys are really weighing out your options and making sure that you're making the right decisions, right? But what I'm blessed with is my wife is very driven. She's super business savvy. She's way smarter than I am, works harder than I do. Like, I have all these things in a partner that, and she holds me accountable. She does all these things that are really invaluable in my life, that have made me level up to the next level, whether that's as a dad or as a leader, or as a husband, whatever those things are. That's where, too, I would challenge you to just go, okay, she had career aspirations because that's who she is. So let's let her become a mom before we try to put those on pause, right? Because if you love someone enough, you'll figure it out. You always do. And that's just where that kind of comes as a full circle moment. I agree. I think that someone being able to afford to be home with the kids is one of the coolest liberties that you can get in the world. Because, like, even for me, I don't travel like overnight as much as I used to. I've actually only been away from the baby twice, like in her whole, I think she's 16 months. I said 18 earlier, but she'll be 16 months next week. But I still am home late, out the door early type of thing. So I'm not seeing her, awake and alert, or I'm catching her right at bedtime or whatever that is. So it's taxing in general, you know, and, yeah, it's tough sometimes with my wife and I both working, but when you both want it, you figure it out, right? And when you want what's best for your partner, you figure it out too. I guess where I'm getting at is, like, support her goals too. If she wants to be a CEO of some company, maybe you'll get it. Just be the best damn CEO you can be.
And you and your wife are really both business owners.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's funny, you want to leave the 9 to 5, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna leave the 9 to 5 for more freedom, but now I'm actually working more than I would have if I'd have just been in a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But you're doing that because of the goals that you have in mind.
Well, and that's another whole nother conversation, is when you first start, you're working to survive.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you're just working to live, but then you get to a point where you become, we have 18 or 19 W-2s that work here. I tell my people all the time, and so I'm going to just kind of veer off into a leadership vein here. You don't work for me, I work for you. I just happen to lead it. That doesn't mean anything. I am working to make sure that you're the best version of yourself. Now, that's where it gets hard sometimes, because now I have to have difficult conversations when you're not a good fit. You're just not a good fit, man. I am looking out for you in your best interest by telling you that, but you're just not a good fit.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, because you're a driven young man. You're at some point going to lead people. I know this is unsolicited advice, but when you get those people, when you have to let someone go, when you realize that you're not only holding the company back, but you're holding that individual back as well from their true potential, it gets so much easier to have those hard conversations.
Man, I would love to have a built out financial services team with my brothers. What's it like working with your brothers and your family? Because you believe you work with your brother and your dad.
Yeah. Coolest and hardest thing you've ever done. That's the synopsis of it,
Yeah.
right? And actually my mom, she was in the first office when you walked in here to your left.
Really?
And they're divorced. So my dad and mom both work here. I have one brother that works here, and then I consider Maggie in the other room one of my little sisters, and we just kind of all. It's weird because you all start blending and becoming a family when you have that family atmosphere. It's very, very hard to learn how to work together, because what you have to realize is that you all want the same thing for it to work. You have to be careful with when you go into business with someone and it's some form of a partnership. Partnerships are really hard because there's going to become a time, and it probably happens from both sides, this give and go, right? Where I want it more than he does, and then he pushes back, and all of a sudden he wants it more than I do. And finding that balance because there's no such thing as balance, really. It's the delta that makes the difference. We talk about work-life balance, right? Work-life balance doesn't exist. It doesn't. It's bullshit. Just say, oh, well, I'm going to spend 8 hours at home and 8 hours at work. Especially when you own a business, it's really hard. But when you're a driven individual, it doesn't work.
There's no off switch.
No, I cannot shut it off. I get yelled at all the time by my father-in-law in particular. All the time. Shut it off. I can't. It doesn't work that way. My wife's the same way because we're both very driven individuals. Then you add that dynamic into there and, well, I can't shut it off and there's no delta. So the thing comes when you're working with family, right? Where do I balance it? We've gotten to the point now where we can go to Thanksgiving and we can shut it off. We will not talk about business. It's just a standing rule that it's kind of unspoken. We really didn't even talk about it. It's hard though in the beginning when stuff is, because when you start a business, I don't care what line of business you're in, especially if you're like me and you're starting with really nothing in general. Didn't have a rich uncle or grandpa that gave me $1 million loan. It's just a fact. What I did have is great determination and desire to get it done, and a little bit of help along the way, whether those from mentors or family stepping in. The dad and Brandon are both partial owners here. We're split owners with me. And once you get that and you realize, okay, we're all working for the same thing, it works. You fight less. You're still going to have arguments. You're still going to have disagreements. We're still going to have shouting matches. It's one of the things that we tell people when they first start working here. We're going to be angry sometimes. It's not going to be directed at you. I'm going to slam doors. I'm going to scream and yell because it's who we are as people. We grew up together. My brother and I are 17 months apart. It's not easy. It's not. But nothing in life worth doing fits.
Yeah.
And I'm just long-winded in general, but that's just kind of what it is. How many brothers do you have?
2 brothers and a sister.
Okay. A decent little family. And you grew up Catholic?
Grew up Catholic. Yep.
Always in Norwalk?
Born and raised in Norwalk. Besides time I was at Mount Union, yeah. I plan on being in Norwalk. Deep roots in Norwalk. 5 generations deep in Norwalk.
I was going to ask how many, because is there a family member that's ran for city council or something? Have I seen those signs?
No. Not at least me. My great grandparents were farmers in the area.
Okay, nice. Yeah, what's that legacy piece mean for you that they're a cornerstone in our community? Because I'm a transplant up there, man. So
yeah, it's helped me a lot in business, because when I was door knocking over in Strong's, like I was telling you about before, they don't know me from Adam. Like, who's this guy? Now, if I'm in Norwalk, I'm at a networking event, I run into the right person at the right time. Even if they don't know me from Adam and they're a transplant, I know this person. And this person trusts you, so therefore they trust you and I trust them. Inherently, I should trust you. And there is such value in that in terms of growing a business in such an intimate business that I'm in. Because I'm not in a transactional business. I am in a relationship business, period. There is value in someone trusting you with their money and knowing, well, I know this person's not going to run off because so-and-so will have their ass if they do so.
As it should be.
The whole legacy thing, definitely. I mean, that's what's keeping me in the area is family. Super, super important to me. Absolutely. My family, most important.
Who, just kind of a little rapid fire here. Who's your hero?
Ooh, good question.
Give me up to 3. I always leave it like that.
I would have to say, I'd have to say my dad, obviously, number one. He is the alpha male figure that you kind of look up to from day one. In terms of someone who's in the public sphere that I would look up to. I always thought Tim Tebow, totally incredible dude. And he was athletics aside, he was willing to put his his fame, publicity on the line for his faith. I always thought that was the coolest way to put yourself out there. And no matter how much the media ridicule me, he's blackballed by whoever. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the world, but he was willing to put himself out there. So I'd say my dad, and probably if I would be able to have lunch with anyone, it'd probably be Tim Tebow.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's super cool that you're able to have somebody in your life that, you can personally connect with as a hero. I think a lot of people, there's a lot more people than you think that don't ever get that.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow's a cool one.
Yeah.
That's a guy, we saw him speak, and then we got to do a Q&A afterwards at a Platinum lunch. And speaking, not phenomenal, but in the Q&A part, because he wasn't, and I appreciate it, but it was one of those, I'm gonna let God talk. I was like, okay, I get that. But also, too, kind of know where you're going here, but the Q&A, man, just a super genuine guy, just to hear the work he's doing in the orphanages and things like that. And
yeah,
honestly, for the night to shine, then we're blessed enough to have one in Sandusky.
Yeah.
My wife and I continually say we're gonna volunteer every year and then get busy and life gets in the way. But super great dude. What's you said dad being the alpha, what's he meant to you as your hero? Like, what makes you look up to him?
I don't think mentally I would I I don't think mentally I would think the way that I think now if it wasn't for tough love. It's you could have all these voices telling you you're doing the right thing. Sally Sue, you're doing great. Jimmy, you're doing great. But to have someone who's saying, okay, you did okay, do it again. Or you might have went 3 for 3, but you missed a ground ball, or you missed this. Like, I want to hear the person who has the criticism.
Yeah.
I want to know what I can be doing better. And I think if you don't have a voice like that in your circle, it can cause you to be mentally weak. And I think that was his biggest thing was how far can you go without breaking? And that's a wrestling thing too. You want to know how big is your gas tank, and how far can you be pushed? Because that's how you're going to find out what you're made of when you're pushed to the edge in a wrestling match. My dad is notorious for running us till we can't run anymore.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
I grew up with a dad who was the same way, tough love. I mean, it was still hard, I love you, lucky enough to do that, all that good stuff, but very much so holding us accountable, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, keeping us in line. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
What's been the most, you're a young man, but what was the most trying time for you in your life to this point?
I'm really not someone who hangs out my my dirty laundry with personal issues and stuff. But we were talking about how when I was going to college, that whole COVID thing happened, and then everything shut down. And I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to play. I'm going to start. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then that's not God's plan. He said, nope. He said, nope. We're actually going to be reconstructing your ankle and putting plates and screws in there, and you're going to be playing for another year after that. How do you like that idea? So it's like, we have plans, and God just laughs. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been able to figure out, okay. At the time I was writing mortgages. Like, I thought that's what I was going to do. I was,
Dude, great time to write mortgages.
Yeah, it was. I was making way more money in a college apartment than any college student should have been. Again, super blessed, but then rates spike up. I'm like, well, I guess this isn't just printing money. I guess it's actually kind of difficult.
Work involved.
There's actually work involved. There's a bunch of guys in my college apartment running around in the background, and I'm on the phone asking people what their credit scores are. Um, but there's so many things that happen, and in the time you don't understand why they happen. Um, but in the end, things always work out. And if there's any takeaway when it comes to attitude, it's that, hey, no matter what I do, things are things are just always gonna work out for me. Like Jerry Seinfeld, things always work out.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Um, yeah, that's COVID was a tough time. What was that? Because, like I said, I was at sectionals. I remember hearing rumblings about this COVID thing that everybody was talking about in March of 2020. And then they, of course, canceled the
Yeah.
state tournament, which a bunch of us coaches were up in arms about because we were trying to figure out how do we get these kids a season to finish it, whether that's, not allowing anybody but wrestlers in the room or whatever that was. Because, we had a lot of kids come out of, I was coaching down in Wayne County at the time, and we were at the, what sectional did you guys go to?
We are in the northwest sectional. At that
That's
time,
Harrisburg.
it was Lakota. Now I believe it is in Rossford.
Okay. So we were in the northeast. So we went Garfield Heights,
Mhm.
and I didn't have any kids qualify. I think I had one alternate.
Yeah.
But we're like, all right, we're gonna figure out how we get these kids a season because you watch these kids. I coached for 9 years. I'd watch these kids come all the way up through the junior high programs. I knew which kids were going to be state champions. Like you knew, right? And just like with you, you were right to run into a state title. Um, what did that mentally do finishing out the rest of that year? Because then you didn't even get the full year of, proms got canceled, all that good stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that really got stopped.
I, I, I was in a good mental space about it. Like I'm someone who rolls with the punches very, very well. But there were some teammates that I had, good friends, and this is their first time going out of state. And for the seniors, it was their only time. And it's like, oh my gosh, I worked so hard, and for what? But one of my best friends it was his only time making it, and he was probably going to place. He's probably going to go deep, but he never had the chance to do it. And I know that's always going to bother him, but for me, it was really weird not to be doing anything because I'm someone who feels like I have to be volunteering for this in the evening. I got to be working here. I got to do this after work. I got to go run. I got to go lift. It was weird to have a time where everything was shut down and it was just weeks of like nothingness. I'd say that was probably the hardest thing on me because I'm someone where if I'm not doing anything, that's not a good thing. I'll probably start some silly business and then fall flat on my face or try stuff just to be able to do something because humans aren't meant to have idle hands. I cannot sit still for a extended period of time. I think that was the hardest thing on me that whole period of time.
Where do you think that comes from?
Uh,
That part of
Probably ADHD, but in all seriousness, in all seriousness, I think some people are just wired that way. There's some people who are introverted and need that time alone. For me, I'm just the opposite. Like if I have time alone, I'm gonna try and start this business. This fails. Drop shipping. This fails. This fails. Start the vending machine business. Okay, that takes off. That gets a little bit of traction. I think it's just my nature.
See, I would argue I'm on the opposite end of that. I think that there are things that happen, and they happen for us, right? Like for me, with my parents being divorced, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. They both were in their 20s when they had me. We never went without.
Yeah.
And we always make sure to talk about that. But we never had excess for the most part. So for me, I know where it comes from. My drive to want more. It is because, we couldn't afford this or we couldn't afford that, or I didn't have I heard the quote the other day that if I saw me, like my family when we were kids, I'd be like, those people are rich. And like legitimately, I would have. And I just think it's normal life.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just part of it. My wife and I take a couple vacations every year. Our kid goes with us everywhere we go. We've got a nice house.
Mm.
We got a nice vehicle. We've got, we have these nice things, but they're just things, right? So I think that there's always external factors that come into that. Like, I guess what I'm getting at is, like you said, dad is in construction, blue collar, probably saw him work his ass off your entire life, especially with the gritty background and all that good stuff. Do you think that maybe it comes a little bit from that, or, did you go work with dad on the weekends type of thing?
Um, I think so much of it comes from being overly involved with wrestling tournaments on the weekends, football camps on the weekends, always finding ways to get bigger, faster, stronger as much as I can. I think it's more the athletic piece. Don't get me wrong. I had my fair share of weekends cutting wood or whatever projects dad was gonna have me do. Um, but so much of it was that athletic piece because I wanted to be the best athlete at St. Paul, period. And I was so hell bent on that for so long, and then COVID just comes and it's boom. I didn't know where to go.
Why do you think you wanted to be the best athlete? What drove that?
Um, but me being a kid, I was I was not a good athlete at all. I lost way more matches than I won. Um, Pimple face, couldn't put muscle on to save my life. And then it all just kind of clicked that no one else is going to want it for me. No one else is going to be able to do it. The only person that can do that can get your ass into shape. And this isn't just athletics. I mean, this is lifestyle. The only person who can do it is you. And another mentor of mine is Chris Phillips. Probably heard that name. One of the best wrestlers ever walked through Monroeville. Arguably one of the best high school wrestlers of all time.
You got a couple of brothers down there too that are right there in that category.
Yep. High school wrestler. Logan Hunter, great college wrestlers, but Chris, and he'd be a great person to have a podcast. Great, one of the best wrestlers of all time, and you wouldn't know it seeing him on the street, but he took me under his wing a little bit, started coaching me up, and once he worked with me, he made wrestling so simple. He's like, dude, just you can control what you can control. He's like, you can be stronger, you can go to the gym afterwards, and you can have the strongest head snap and the strongest underhook in the state of Ohio, and nobody can stop you from doing that. It takes no talent to do that. It takes no talent to have a good stance and have the strongest legs and make sure you don't get taken down. It takes no talent to do that. He said, you just got to make sure you score more points than he does. He said, it doesn't have to be pretty. He said, if you just go there and you work as hard as you can, you'll probably come out on top. And once he said that, wrestling clicked for me, sports clicked for me. And I'm someone, and this is probably not a good quality trait, but I get a goal, I tunnel vision it, I'll achieve it, and some people stay there. I'm always on to the next one. There's always a false peak in a higher mountain. For better, for worse, that's how I'm wired.
I would argue with you that Colin Moore was the most dominant. That kid did not give up an offensive point or a defensive point his entire senior year. That kid was insane. I remember watching him as a freshman.
That is another very, very good Ohio State wrestler.
He was the same. It was the same story though in high school. 2 seconds and a first. Sixth his freshman year, 2 seconds and a first. And he's in tough weight classes. A lot of these guys that get 4-time state champions, they'll go down to wrestle 106.
Chris Phillips, I think he was 171, men's weight class.
Oh yeah, that's a men's weight class. That's where I would argue with the guys who are like, yeah, I got a state title at 113, and I'm like, that's good. I'm very proud of you. It's
Yeah.
still an accomplishment because there's a lot of seniors around 113. Not taking any credit away from your brother either. But when you get up into those men,
Oh yeah.
those are men. I wrestled 180. Well, see, so when I was in school, it was 185 still because they switched in the year after I graduated. They moved everything out.
Um,
But I remember watching Moore wrestle his senior year because he was in our conference.
Yeah.
That kid was so dominant with just a relentless pursuit to be great. And like hands down, one of the best Ohio State wrestlers that has ever walked through those doors, but just couldn't finish in the spotlight. That's really what it comes down to. If we're like analyzing it on a sports atmosphere, the kid was more dominant than everybody he wrestled. He just couldn't do it at the big spotlight. Well, and same story, his senior year of college, should have went to NCAA Nationals, should have won NCAA Nationals, should be a national champion, and freaking gets COVID.
Yep.
COVID shuts that season down. You know, then they allowed some of those kids to come back as red shirts, and they gave them a COVID season. That's why you see some of these football players right now who are 9-year veterans.
A lot of that Mount Union, for better or for worse. A lot of that. Right?
Yeah. Well, the high school I graduated from, the Purple Raiders' first national championship. There was 3 kids from Hillsdale in there.
Yeah.
I remember there was a plaque in our locker room of them holding the trophy. You know, just super cool stuff. But I think that sports is so important for kids to get involved in because it teaches them so much. You know, I have a friend who ran a steel erection company. They put up big ass steel buildings like that one's going on in the corner.
Yeah.
And they would purposefully hire wrestlers because they would do the shit that nobody else wanted to do. And it's true. Like, if you come in here and interview with me and you have a wrestling background, that's another thing that drives me wild is resumes. I don't look at resumes. I don't care. I am so relational that it does not matter. Somebody will be like, hey, you sell it on my resume. I'm like, no, I didn't, because I don't look at them. Unless somebody points out something weird to me, like you've had numerous jobs, because somebody else will screen and bore me.
Yeah.
They've had numerous jobs, and that's probably a red flag. I want to find out why, you know, type of thing. But it's
seeing an athlete on there is definitely a plus.
it is. It's a move in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
Sports, I think, can play such a crucial role in kids' lives, and so many parents nowadays allow kids to quit mid-season, which drives me absolutely bonkers. Because all you're doing is setting them up for failure in life. Oh, you don't like that job? Just quit and get a new one. No. Finish it out. Give your 2 weeks. Do things right. Because then they're going to quit on their marriage. And they're going to quit. Like, they don't translate it to the things in the real world that you're allowing your children to do. You can't quit mid-show. Like, you just can't stop. Like, you've got to be conscious of the people who you're affecting, especially if you respect them. You know, it's one thing if you're just getting completely disrespected and it's a bad, there's always an exception to every rule. But for the most part, it should be wanting to show respect enough to at least take the higher ground. I can say honestly in my professional career, I've never walked away from a situation where I can't say that, but in the more recent, when I was a young man, I think we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But since this business has been around, I can tell without a shadow of a doubt, I've never walked away and faulted someone. I've never left a job high and dry. It was always a 2 weeks notice. It was always plenty of heads up. It was always plenty of conversations beforehand as to why I was leaving. I've never been fired. Ever. Like, there's all these other things that compound into life that all are deeply rooted in that foundation of having some form of background that allowed me to be that way. Not sports aren't cut out for every kid. So when they sign up for freaking book club, make sure they're doing their best damn job they can at book club.
Yeah. Be a champion at book club.
Yes. Or speech and debate or whatever fits you. Right? It's not for everybody. You know, but there's something for everybody.
Yeah, I saw this Georgia Tech thing. It was strength coach at Georgia Tech, and he's like, there's lazy people and there's hard workers, and he put everybody in 2 categories. And he said, I'm going to paraphrase because I'm sure I'm going to butcher it. Lazy people come in,
Yeah.
do just enough, and go home. Hard workers come in, give it all they can, and they go home and they analyze themselves and say, man, did I give it all that I could? And they're still worried about being lazy. I want to make sure that I fall in that bucket rather than...
And you should want to. Like, what's the purpose of being here if I'm not going to go all in? Really? And I don't give a shit if you're agnostic or freaking atheist or whatever it is. That's fine. If you think we can develop from a clump of cells and that's how we got here, great. Good for you. But why are you here? It doesn't mean squander this gift that we were given, whether it was by a divine or creator like you and I believe, or what by that big bang that's cool thing. But whatever that is, like, think about it and want to be the best that you can be.
If I'm wrong, I know that I was a good person, and I'll be okay.
It's harder to not believe than it isn't.
Yeah.
It's harder to not believe than it is to believe.
Yeah.
Because you have to try to find reasons why to not. But that's like the glass half full versus half empty conversation, in my opinion. If I look at it as God created us, it's glass half full.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It wasn't for me. But if you look at it as, oh, I've got to find a reason why not to, everything's got to be logical and analytical, and I have to know the reason for everything, life's harder.
I believe it really aligns with that's where my belief system stems from, is my Catholic upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of leg exercises in the Catholic Church, man, all that up, down. So it's a good workout on a Sunday. I've been pretty blessed to be around a lot of Catholic people, and I like to jar fun because I think it's funny because Maggie and I, she'll come in here afterwards and we'll go on about it because she's Catholic, and I think that just having that foundational belief in life is just so important. And
between all the denominations, there's really not a whole lot of difference.
See, I just had this conversation with Josh, who was raised by a preacher and was going to be a preacher, and the previous conversation, and what it comes down to is like, I believe in a just God. So like, if you're in Islam, if you look at the base level teachings of Islam, well, first of all, they all teach out of the Old Testament. So it's like Cliff Kingsbury says, we all worship a Jew, at the end of the day. So who am I to fault Judaism? But then when you look at Islam, like because my dad gets off on these Fox News tangents. And
like every dad ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good Republican dad just going off of the Fox News. He'll be like, I'm like, hold on. There are plenty of denominations inside of Christianity that are a problem too. Whether that's the freaking Waco shooting that, in the what were they? Branch Davidians, or whatever those are. Jonestown was a foundational Christian society before they went off to everybody and all that good stuff. Like, there's all these other things that are bad inside of Christianity. Like, there's faults inside of religion because that's how the devil works. So there's faults inside of Islam just the same. Just like there's faults inside of Judaism, just like there's faults inside of Hindu. So I think that everybody at least gets an opportunity to be heard. Is kind of my point. And on top of that, man, like, I want to raise my kids to be great Christians, but also outside of that, like, I want to go win souls too. Because there's nothing cooler than the 11th hour. There's nothing cooler. And it doesn't make them any less than. I hate a judgy Christian. I hate a judgy Christian. Who are you? Who are you, sinner? Like, that shit drives me wild. And better yet, like, like my grandmother, I tell this story all the time, but she lived a very good life, but never once went to church. Her son's a preacher, never saw him preach. But at her funeral, I learned that she accepted Jesus as her Lord and Savior. How cool is that it took her until her 86th birthday to figure that out? That's so much more fun than, and don't get me wrong, like, there's nothing wrong with guys like us who, I wasn't necessarily raised in the church, but I found Christ at an early point in my life. That's cool too.
Yeah.
That's still just as cool. There's so much celebration, but there's so much more to it, man. And like, we are called to go and do the Lord's work. And outside of that, like, we oftentimes think that going into those four walls that we call a church, that just happen to be the people that congregate in the same area every Sunday. We look at that and the church, the people's the church, but also on top of that, what are Christ's three workings inside of the church, or in through his time here on earth? Preaching in front of a church, but then he was also doing mission work. Although it was in that small pocket of the world, he was still doing mission work and going and spreading the gospel. And on top of that, he was casting out demons. I could go into a whole thing about that. I know the Catholic Church knows all about that. Y'all are the best at it. You're the goats, right? But we all have an opportunity to go and do that work. Because whether that's just a demon of something that they're holding on to from their past, or a physical demon, And I spent some time in Africa, dude. I don't know if you ever watched.
Everything.
Well, have you ever been around somebody that's been possessed? I know this sounds crazy to me talking to anybody else, but like when you physically watch a 13-year-old child throw off 4 grown men and just watch the agonizing pain that they're going through, it is crazy. If you ever get the opportunity, man, go. Africa is not rich in demons because there's the same amount on the earth today as there was when Jesus was here, and they spend his time doing that. But what they do is they worship different than we do.
Hmm.
What are we doing every Sunday? What time is it? The Browns are playing in a couple hours. Is this guy almost done? It's at 55 minutes. That pastor is going to be up for an hour. He'll sound like he's wrapping up. We do. We don't worship that level. They'll stand out and worship for 14 hours. Happiest people you ever meet in your life, man. Happiest people. So many lessons that can be learned from that. I know I'm stealing your spotlight and I apologize.
Oh, you're fine.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the episode here, Cam. I always like to open up the last couple minutes here to just, it's your opportunity to share anything that we didn't talk about.
Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous in all you do. Lord's with you wherever you go.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you having me on. I think we hit on everything I want to talk about. I think we hit on a lot of things that are not only good for life, but like the athletic stuff, the faith stuff, all that stuff translates to business for me. For me, it's all one encompassing thing. There's not one roadmap that leads to, hey, this is how you run a profitable practice. It's do a little bit here, do a little bit here, volunteer here, be a part of this organization here, meet great people, build relationships with great people. You put all of that together, you might run a successful practice and you might not. And if you don't, there's a reason. There's a better purpose for you somewhere else. So for me, even if I lose everything tomorrow, I know I'll land back on my feet because that's just how I'm going to wake up. It's how I'm wired.
Well, it's because it's all up here. Nobody can foreclose.
Between the ears. Yeah, absolutely.
And just to kind of wrap it up, my grandfather, who had a 4th grade education, one of my heroes, and he used to text us in broken English. And one of my favorite texts, it still pops up on my Facebook because I thought it was so cool that I screenshotted it and shared it, was enjoy today. Don't look back because don't look at yesterday because it already happened.
Yeah.
And like that's so good about, like, if you have that perspective on life, like it happened yesterday. I screwed up.
Yeah.
Wasn't the best day. Didn't do this right. Didn't do that right. Who cares? What are you going to do today to make it better?
Yeah.
That just kind of sums that up, I guess, a little bit is why I thought about that, man. And
I was watching College Game Day last weekend, and you did the Horns Nuts. We're coming off the Ohio State win. However, I saw this little clip of Nick Saban. I love watching him on there.
Hated him when he was at Alabama. Love him on game day. I don't know if you have that thing.
You see videos of him screaming at players and they're up 30, and I can see why you might not have cared for him. But the more I see him now,
yeah, perspective.
If he was on my team, I'm a big Notre Dame guy. If he was on Notre Dame, I'd love him. But if he was a Buckeyes coach, he just happens to be on Alabama. But he talked about the power of nothing. When you're born, you have nothing. Talent, but you don't work hard, you have nothing. You can do everything right. You don't wake up for practice in time, you have nothing. All we have right now is we got to do all little things right and win the week. How do we get to next week? How do I could look at having a multi-million-dollar practice. How can I get to next month? How can I get to next month with one more client, 2 more clients? How can I just take one small step and get there step by step? And I would really encourage everybody listening to watch The Power of Nothing. It's probably no more than a minute, but you have nothing.
Oh, and that's I mentor a lot of young men. Like, how do I get an employee?
Yeah.
Like, get one. That's it. The book's in right there. It's called Power of One More. It's by Ed Mylett. Phenomenal book. If you ever should see him speak, just great stuff. But when you look at it as, I'm just going to get one more win today, whether that's an employee, a job, this paperwork done, finishing out my task, whatever that is, just get one more done.
Oh,
It's compounding.
if wh- when I first started, I was cold calling people too, on top of the door knocking. That's a whole topic for another episode. But man, I couldn't end on a voicemail. I couldn't end on a rejection. I had to get something positive before I went home, or I would be itching, saying, "What could I have done differently?"
Yeah.
It means a retrospect. How could I? And at the end of the day, it's other people's decisions whether they want to work with you or not. I am not the cup of tea for everyone. I'm probably the biggest hillbilly financial guy doesn't know how to golf. Like how people trust with their money sometimes. I'm like, I don't even know. But you got to end on a win.
Yeah.
Got to end on.
Always end the day on a win. And that win could just be not going to the snack drawer at night. All right. Like, stop thinking a win has to be something monumental that's going to change the entire game. Think of a win as something like that. I got somebody to pick up the phone. I got somebody to answer the door while I'm out door knocking. I was able to say something nice to my wife, or I cracked open my Bible. Whatever that win is to you, finishing out the day on a win is so much more important than just focusing on all the L's that you took that day. Because guess what? It's life. You're going to take lots of L's. It is what it is. Whether that's you dating or you doing, it could be doing business, or it could be, just in your relationships, could be not failing to go to church, whatever those things are for you, those L's are going to happen. It's don't count the losses, worry about the win, and focusing on those wins. Like, so I used to tell my wrestlers, you're either winning or you're learning.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that match? If you didn't learn something, then you did lose.
Do your push-ups, get your runs in. I saw this piece that Mike Vrabel did, and he was talking about playing with Tom Brady. And I think this was on, back to your original point, you're like, man, Tom Brady has his own documentary, Man in the Arena. Very, very good.
It's good, yeah.
He was like, if Tom Brady ended the practice and Vrabel got the better of him, he would keep going and extend the practice until Tom Brady got the better of Mike Vrabel, and then they could end the practice.
Yeah. He had to win.
He had to win.
And that's the mentality that I think, to wrap this thing up, is what all of us have. If you don't have the desire to win, that's not a fault, right? But finding a way to make it so that no one is going to beat me at my game.
Yeah.
Whatever that game is. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. My kids want to be a freaking McDonald's burger flipper, then be the best motherfucking burger flipper that ever walked the face of the earth. That is my viewpoint on life. And if you can just go, I am going to be the best with whatever I do, not the best as far as the best athlete in high school, but the best version of Cam that I can be, you can't lose. You're going to take some L's, but that L does not have to stand for a loss. It can stand for learn.
You don't want to be at the gates and say, this is who you are, this is who you could have been.
Yeah.
You want to be that person.
Or I want him to look at me and go, you almost had me.
I think that's a Goggins thing, but yeah, you could have been this person.
Thing, actually.
Really?
Yeah, Mylett talks about that. That's his version of heaven. This guy goes, well done, good and faithful servant. You want me to show you who I made you out to be? And I want that guy to look at me and go, you caught me. You caught me. And that's such a good sentiment to have in life. And if you can wake up with that mentality every morning, because guess what? There are days when I don't want to do it. There are.
Yeah. I
have a version, back to the why. Have something bigger than you as to why you're going to do it. Because if it's bigger than you, you can never let it down. If it's you, you'll let yourself down every time. All right, man. That was good.
That was really good.
I'll close this thing out. And, like I always do, guys, just kind of give a synopsis. But this is really just about the power that's within inside all of us to be the best version of ourselves. Whether that's you believe in God and, that's your higher power. Whether it's chasing the person he created you to be, or just a better version than you were yesterday. What are you doing in your life to make sure that you're that person? We talked about a lot in here. We talked about sports and their impact on life. We talked about overcoming adversity and having a positive mindset. We covered a lot in our short little hour and 20 minutes, it looks like, on the clock. So I guess always that I ask, if you got some value out of today, feel free to share this episode. We don't have any sponsors and we don't plan on having any because it gives us the ability to talk about whatever we want. So um, please share this episode with somebody that needs to hear this message out of today. As I say every time that I speak, I don't close episodes like this often, but Cam's heard me say it. My goal is to impact one life, and I think that's Cam's goal he set out on this chair today. But you can help us compound that, and you can help us spread that. And I guess by sharing this with someone that needs to maybe hear this message today would be our biggest blessing that you can bestow upon us. And, at the end of the day, even if you don't feel inclined to do so, we're happy that you listen all the way to the end. So as you go throughout your day, I want you to continue to ask yourself, what's your why?